Go to the chaotic southern border. Joining us now from Washington, Senator John McCain. So I have to ask you what I promoted here. Do you believe Barack Obama is incompetent, simply cannot run the nation?
I think he's having great difficulty in his presidency, and I think the polls reflect that as the American people. But I'm not sure the word is incompetent as it is naive. Naive in not understanding the leadership role that the United States of America has to play in the world. And when the United States withdraws, bad people fill the vacuum. I have never seen the world in more turmoil than it is today across the Middle East. Challenges from China, this situation on our own border, I have never encompassed and never imagined that there would be such a lack of positive American leadership, and the consequences are horrendous. 170,000 dead in Syria, a destabilization of the entire region. The list goes on and on. You know all of these
and
things.
we all know that. And then
Yes.
we were just showing, as you were speaking, pictures of the president playing pool in Denver last night. Now, nobody begrudges him leisure time. I certainly don't criticize him playing golf or anything like that. I think that's petty. But you would think that, you know, with children, all right, tens of thousands of children being warehoused, being put on buses. Can you imagine how frightened these children are and the ordeal that they have had to endure coming up from Central America through Mexico? A third of them is estimated are brutalized. And there's the president playing pool. You know, when he could be at the border, he could be in one of these shelters, he could be talking to people down there. It just, to me, that's not leadership. And I'm not saying this from a partisan point of view.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that by not going to the border or even to Lackland Air Force Base, where hundreds of these children are, it showed a lack of sensitivity to the issue. One thing he could do, by the way, be down there and thank the people that are laboring 24/7 trying to care for these kids. I mean, there are people. I've been to our border in Nogales, Arizona, where these children are, and the people there, honest to God, Bill, they are going without rest, trying to keep up and care for these children and give them the treatment that all human beings deserve. And by the way, the president doesn't seem to understand that the families there pay thousands of dollars to get their kids here to the worst of all humanity.
Right.
You mentioned what happens to the children and particularly the young women. And he has nothing in his proposal to repeal that 2008 Act, because we should be sending those kids home. And the way that it's going to stop is when those families see plane loads of those kids arriving back in the countries that they came from.
And then their money is wasted, and they won't take it. But you could stop that tomorrow if the National Guard goes down to the border, as Governor Perry requested. And as you know, we've been saying that for years here. But there's a bigger issue, though. Go ahead.
Could I just interrupt that? Yes, the Guard is important, but you've got to repeal this law called the Trafficking Victims Prevention Act.
I understand this. Ed Henry just reported discussions are underway to do that.
Discussions, it should have been his first priority, because if you want to stop the bleeding, that's the way you do it. It should have been his first priority, and it's not mentioned in his proposal for all this legislation of $3.7 billion.
Okay, and you're absolutely right, but I don't think it's the first. I think it's the second. The first is to tell the country of Mexico, you better knock it off. Now, look, you've been a senator from Arizona, a border state, you know, for decades. This is the most corrupt operation in Mexico City in the hemisphere. I mean, they know exactly what's happening. These kids are marching through that country. It's a 135-mile southern border down there. You're telling me they can't stop it? Where's President Obama and Secretary of State Kerry? I mean, they send Biden down. I don't know what Biden's doing. I mean, I have called for a boycott myself. Americans should not travel to Mexico to buy their products. And if I were president, I'd say, look, you either shut this down right now, or you can forget about NAFTA. I'll use my pen and my phone, and we're not going to do any deals with you. What's wrong with that, Senator?
Nothing's wrong with that, including the fact of telling these Central American countries that we give a lot of assistance to, that they're going to not get another dime until they stop it. And by the way, if a child is in fear of being persecuted by the environment in which they live, then we should have them go to our embassy, go to our consulate, apply for asylum, and we can expand those capabilities, not have them show up at our border. Tell them if they show up at our border, they will will be returned.
Well, if you look, once the Guard goes down there, and again, I think the president will have to do that, those pictures will go out on a factor in every other American TV news program, and they'll go into Central America because they carry us down there, and that will discourage the $700 paying the coyotes to bring them on up here. But, you know, I'm getting a little tired of seeing the president of the United States absolutely do nothing. ISIS just appears out of nowhere. That was a 2-year making, that army. And we did nothing there. I know you were pounding the table, but, I mean, come on, enough's enough. Last word.
Look, when the president decided that we would not keep a residual force, which was the case, that was the beginning of this whole fiasco in Iraq. And the same thing is going to happen in Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
If he does not leave a residual force there.
All right, Senator, thanks for your time. As always, directly ahead, some breaking news about the IRS scandal. An email